Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you some gel printing play that I did using a 6x6 gel plate, which is a mono printing plate that's made out of silicon, and some pan pastels. Pan pastels are a very soft, very high pigmented pastel that's in a pan. It's creamy kind of and soft, but also is also powdery. And until recently, I had never tried pan pastels on the gel plate. You know, I do a lot of experimentation. I do a lot of things with my gel plates, but I just thought that it would be powdery and it would just blow off and it wouldn't stick, and so I never tried it. And there's this person on YouTube, and she makes a living making art videos and selling classes, named Carolyn Doobie. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with her. And she had a class that she offered in her newsletter about using pen pastels on the plate. And I said, huh, why didn't I try that? And so I took the class, and it was exactly what it said it was, is using pen pastels on the plate. I just never thought of it. I thought it wouldn't work, and that I assumed it wouldn't work. And you know when you say assume what that makes out of you. So I didn't make this video because I wanted to be respectful of Carolyn and the fact that she's selling it as a class. I didn't want to just share her class on YouTube for everyone and, let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. But a couple other people, and they're big name people, have already done it. They've showed the pan pastels on the plate using stencils, using, basically the same stuff that I'm playing with today. And so I guess it's okay to go ahead and show it to you. I will, of course, link Carolyn's class, and she did go into a lot more than just slapping some pastels on the plate. She had a lot of tips and techniques about the plate, about pen pastels, about doing other stuff besides just using stencils on them. And so I do recommend the class. It was a great class. It's not terribly expensive. And I do recommend that you go and take her class if you want all that information. But if you just want to watch me play with the gel plate and pan pastels and some stencils, which, by the way, are all GinaBAhrens design stencils. You know, I'm on her design team, and I need to make a package for someone else on a design team. And so I decided to use the 6x6 plate and the stencils, all the stencils that I have from Gina, to I needed to make some stuff. You know what I'm saying? I needed to make some stuff. So I'm using just all her stencils that I have. So how do you do it? Okay, the pen pastels are creamy, and they're highly pigmented. They're opaque, and so basically you just rub them on the plate, and I'm using them in conjunction with acrylic paint. That is the process, but I do it a little bit different in different ones. This one, I wanted there to be an acrylic paint background, so I put acrylic paint down onto the plate, put the stencil over the top, cleared out the stencil holes with a piece of scratch paper. It's actually the other side of the print, I guess, and put pan pastels through the holes in different colors. And instead of using my soft tools that go with pan pastels that I use for pan pastel painting, I'm just using cheap cosmetic sponges from the dollar store. And I'm keeping the sponges to their color family so that I don't make too much of a mess. This video has not been edited. I didn't edit out cleaning. I didn't edit out any of that. I just sped it up 4 times fast. I don't have time to edit everything out right now. So you're really seeing the actual process of how I'm doing it. The interesting thing about this, most of the times when I am gel printing, I don't get a second print. I do a lot of color layering onto the plate and then I pick the whole thing up with another layer of acrylic paint. This is what I do with acrylic paint. I like to do it that way. That is my preference. There are other ways to gel print, and if you want to look at my obsession with gel printing playlist, you will find lots of information about all different types of gel printing and using different products on the gel plate and different layering processes or different or very plain just print it or mark making, there's I have a lot of stuff about gel printing on my channel. So this is not the only thing. This is not the only video, but this is the first time I've ever used the pan pastels. So after doing it for a while, I found that I liked to put a layer of acrylic paint on there and kind of let it get a little bit tacky and then put the pan pastels over the top, either by leaving the stencil on or by taking the stencil off and still having that layer. I think it looks nice that way. You can also, of course, put just the pan pastels on there and don't put any acrylic paint first. And you'll see me doing that in some of the times. This time I'm using her one of the face stencils that she has. And I wanted the background to be fairly solid. And so I put some light pink paint over it, then put the stencil over the top. Cleaned out the holes of the stencil from the acrylic paint by pressing down some paper over the top. Then I removed the stencil and now I'm putting pastel over the top of that. Now keep in mind, people, that if you're trying this, that I live in a dry climate. So I don't have to wait. There isn't a long wait process for me to do this. And I prefer this kind of medium body student grade paint, Liquitex Basics or Amsterdam. I also have the store brand from Hobby Lobby. I can't think of what it's called right now, but it's not terribly expensive paint, but it does have some tack to it. And this is what I prefer. Other people use other paints, and I think that you need to experiment with what you have and maybe try one or two things you don't have until you get the process that you like, that gives the results that you want for your climate, for your style, for your, just like any other art, has a style. And this color layering is my style, and this type of paint that I like to use is my style. So I'll link the colors of paint that I used. I'll link the pan pastels. I'll link the stencils in the description box below if you'd like to purchase them. This one is probably, this stencil is maybe of all the Gina ones that I have, I think this might be my favorite. And I wanted to make something pretty dramatic. And so I put the stencil down on a clean plate, and then I'm using different colors of black and then tints of black, which are a medium gray, a lighter gray. And then I wanted to have a little bit of pattern on it, so I put a different stencil over the top, and I'm trying to get the white paint down in the stencil. It's tiny though, because what I wanted to do was pull up just that stencil pattern design off of it, but it didn't really work. So you'll see it didn't really work. And then I meant to do something else and I forgot and I got distracted and the phone rang and someone texted me and, like that. It always happens. I was going to do it a different way and get that pattern on there, but I didn't end up doing it, I don't think. So then I just went over, after I'd put the dark color on, I went over and did some lighter colors over the top. Now, when you're doing this layering type of gel printing, whether it's with pan pastels, which give a very different look than acrylic paint, they are very different. But but the process is the same. Keep in mind that the first thing that you put on the plate is going to be the thing on top of the print. So you're kind of working in reverse because you're thinking, okay, here I'm putting these layers on, and you're going to see the thing that's on the last thing I put on. But that's not the case. It is the first thing you put on, like a sandwich. So you got to put the bottom bread on, then you put the meat on, then you put the top bread on. But the bottom bread is the one that you see when you flip it over. So That one was very dramatic and very interesting. And I do think it's also interesting that I can get multiple prints from the pan pastel, whereas I cannot do that with the acrylic paint in the way that I do this. Another interesting thing that I can do is I can take that stencil that has the pan pastel on it and lay it back over a clean plate, or in this case a dirty plate, and I will get impressions from it. I haven't seen anyone else doing that. But, I don't like to waste. And so that pan pastel is just sitting on the stencil. It's just going to be there. So why not put it back on the plate? Here we have the same print, a little bit lighter, but I changed the color of paint that I picked it up with, and it changes what the print looked like. So this one I got multiple prints, and I guess maybe because it's a dark color, it just kept pulling and pulling, and that was the lightest one. Okay, so how do you clean it off? Okay, now it looks like my plate's stained, right? It does look like that. Well, just put a little bit of baby oil on there, and that's just cheap baby oil from the dollar store. Cleans right off. And that actually is a good cleaning and conditioning of your plate anyway, even with acrylic paint. It gets acrylic paint off too. So then I tried the same process that I had done before, only this time I'm putting the lighter colors through the stencil and then going over the top of it with darker colors. So it's the reverse of what I did before. Remember, this light color is going to be what's on top. I also just kind of made some marks around with the excess that's on the plate. I printed on regular cheap paper for your printer, and I printed on dictionary pages because sometimes you like to have that printing graphic look through your prints. So some of them were done on dictionaries pages. So this one, I put the light colors on first, then I'm putting the dark colors over the top. And I should have made the first print with white, and I didn't. I believe I used black. Maybe. Because well, what did I do? Oh, that's right. I remember. I wanted to try printing on vinyl because I have this big box of vinyl from Arteza, and it would be fun to be able to die cut the vinyl. So I put the black paint on, and what I figured out very quickly, and I remember this is not edited, what I figured out very quickly is that it's going to take that way too long to dry because the vinyl does not let air through and it's not absorbent. And so I put it on there and I'm like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to let this thing dry. Are you kidding me? What was I thinking? I would have to leave that overnight. And it would work if I left it overnight, then the acrylic paint would dry and it would pull everything up. But I'm not going to do that. So I just went ahead and started printing on paper again. So that print would have been much more vibrant if it didn't have black paint in the background, but I was trying to print it onto black vinyl. That's the reason I did that. I did make a couple prints on some black paper, and it worked. It worked great. But I guess I'm going to have to go do it for you and put it with this. They were with other stencils that weren't Gina stencils, so I'm trying to put all the Gina stencils together. I did some other prints with some different brand of stencils, and just trying to be consistent here. So I will go and I will make more prints, and I'll put them at the end of the video with black paper, just so that you can see it worked out really great. It was pretty cool, actually. So there you go, cleaning it up with baby oil again because I'm done printing with that design. This one is a different stencil, and so I decided this one, it's not supposed to be snowflakes at all, but that's what it reminds me of. It just reminds me of snowflake parts. Like if you were to draw a snowflake, you'd make, these little V things and you'd put dots on the end, and that's just what it reminds me of. So I decided to use blue and teal to print this one. And so that's just that I just did that because yeah. Then it looked like snow, looked like a winter one. And I got a double print off of that one. So something that you will notice, that background on there is not completely white. And with some of the colors of Pan Pastel, they are looser on there than others. And so when I go to put the brayer over it, the white paint picks up that extra pastel and it makes that light blue background like you can see very obviously on that one. But by the second print, it's not doing that anymore because I've picked up all the loose stuff and it's no longer doing it. Oh, here's one where I did go on the back of a different piece that I had printed with black. And that was with silver paint. And that was a third print, so there's not much coming up at that point, but you can still see the pattern in there. And so, yeah, there is one black paper. I know I have a pack somewhere of text weight black paper that I bought specifically for gel printing on black. And I'll tell you what, I can't find it. I can't find it. And so that's the reason I didn't do very many black, because that's actually cardstock. And I don't like to collage with cardstock. It's too heavy. Where is that? I don't know. So this was my last stencil that I had. This one is, I think it might be pomegranates. It reminds me of pomegranates. I don't know if that's what she intended, but that's what it looks like to me. So for my first round, I did a lot of reds. I put pink, light pink paint down first, put the stencil on, remove the paint through the stencil holes, and then I'm going to pick it up with Naples yellow paint. Or maybe I put Naples yellow. I don't even remember now. If I was doing this as a class, I would be so much more organized. I would be doing everything in order. I'd be teaching you exactly how it works. But yeah, I'm just playing at this point. So that first one was picked up with yellow. The second one is being picked up with Titan Buff titanium color. And see how different it looks. And then the third one is a darker buff titanium. I have two different colors of buff titanium. One's called Unbleached Titanium Deep, and then this one's just called Titanium Buff, and it's the color of old paper. So I did that third one on a dictionary page, which isn't quite wide enough. I wish that the dictionary was just 6 inches instead of 5.5 or whatever it is. So you can see the text coming through on that one. It'll be an interesting background. So I think I did this stencil one more time with some more vibrant colors, starting out with the Naples yellow as the base. I don't know why I like that better. I just do. I like the way the prints come out better with the stencils. If there's something underneath to stick to the plate. Makes it cleaner and clearer to me. So that's why I do it. Not every time, but a lot of the time. So this one I went over with some brighter colors, orange, pink. And then I made the little tops and bottoms green. And then I made some turquoise and purple pomegranates because why not? Right? Of course. So I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment or question below if you have one. If this is your last video for the day, maybe end your session with a different video. We talked about that. I know. Also, you can pin it on Pinterest, share it on Facebook, all those things, and those all help my channel grow by helping other people find me. So here is one. The first one I picked up with yellow and the second one with white, so it looks a little bit different. See? Okay, so I went back into my studio, got everything back out again because I'd actually kind of cleaned it up. And I want to show you how it works on black paper. So I've got this split circle one out again, and I'm putting some bright colors. Bright red, bright pink, bright orange, bright yellow through the stencil, and then putting this lime green around the edges and over the top to fill in between. And then I do add some of the other kind of bluish green around the outside edges, sort of, just for variation. Then I'm using black paint, and yeah, I had a little bit of a goober I had to get off. Putting a very thin coat of black paint over it, and then picking it up with the black cardstock. One thing you do have to calibrate is how much paint you put on there. It needs to be thin, thin, thin. And if you put too much on, you should pull it off with your brayer and roll it off on the side because it won't pull up. It'll just, if you put your paper on there, it'll pull up just the layer of paint and not adhere underneath. So there's the same print on the black and the white. And then I pulled a third one. One thing I didn't try because I, once again, wasn't sure it would work is a second pull onto the black. I'm not sure that there's enough pastel left on there, but in this case I may be wrong. So I probably should have done it. But you know, I'm not trying to teach a class here. I'm just showing you what I did. This is what I did, people. So then I cleaned it up with baby oil, switched to a different stencil. This time, the one that reminds me of snowflakes has very fine lines, and I wanted to see how well it would work on the black going through the very fine stencil. So I'm using turquoise, lime green. I can't remember. We'll just find out what else I used. White at the end, I think. Purple. There we go. Purple. And then white. It's actually the first time I used white. The white pan pastel, not the white paint. Obviously been using white paint. Then I put the thin coat of the black acrylic on there and put it on the black cardstock. And it worked great. Even the white comes right through. So this shows you that pan pastels are indeed opaque because they go on there first, the black paint goes on, but it still you get a fairly bright color. So definitely an opaque product, which we've talked about before. They are. And that's with a titanium buff. And then I cleaned up. And did I do another one? I can't remember if I did. Oh, I did one with just the excess pan pastel that was left on the stencil. And you can see how this looks kind of like a reverse of the other. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, that's it for me. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next video.